Well, hello, freedom seekers. This is my weekly wrap up, you see. Talking about my uh, journey, and making money online is like my journey into non-monogamy, polyamory, and swinging. And, it's your journey. I don't know what your journey is working on right now, whether you're working on polyamory or swinging or any form of ethical and consensual non-monogamy and transitioning your life. But I'm in that process of transitioning my life right now. And I'm transitioning my life in creating an online income for myself. So my income comes all from the things that I do on the internet and not collecting a paycheck, but actually generating an income myself from that. And you see, and I find that that is really just the same process that I went through um, 15 years ago when I transitioned from having been 27 years in a life of monogamy and to starting to live a non-monogamous life. And so there's so many similarities. And so whatever, you're working on and you're going through, then by me sharing my journey with you on creating an online income, I hope then that it will really help you in your journey and in your process. Because you see, as I look through this idea of transitions, we go through life transitions, but most people they don't ever really test themselves. That's why so many people play it safe and they keep over there on the side of the fence where they find monogamy at. And so they're over there with their monogamous life, and they play it safe, and they don't ever really try to take and transition and take the chances and take the risk. And sure, there's risk involved in everything we do. It's like the risk of getting in an automobile. But the thing is, there's some things that we can control and there's some things that we can't control. We oftentimes find ourselves worrying about the things that we can't control, and we end up doing nothing about the things that we can control. And that's where then some 15 years ago, after just being really having spent 27 years of my life, at the point I started is actually 25 years. So I've been married monogamously for 25 years. And after spending 25 years of my life really trying to do all kinds of different things and be in control of the enjoyment of my personal satisfaction and pleasure of my sex life, and yet it just wasn't working. And I decided that, what needed to happen is a non-monogamous life for myself. And because I wasn't going to go out and cheat on my wife, it just wasn't who I am. And I know today, though, a lot of people, they, may not feel like great about cheating, but they don't think it's like any big crime either, because we're raised in our society to cheat. When you think about it, kids, how you raise your own kids, maybe even, kids, in order to start to explore their sexuality, because we don't want to see our kids and look at our kids as the sexual beings that they are. We don't want to think of them of going out there and enjoying sexual pleasure and satisfaction. Oh my gosh, that's such a terrible thing as a parent to think about my child in that way, and that's how our society conditions us. And so what happens is that we raise our kids in homes where the kids have to basically cheat on their parents in order to explore their own sexuality, where that starts out by just touching themselves and masturbating or touching someone else, and playing doctor as a kid with one other kid, or like Kat, and she played around with her dolls and her stuffed animals and stuff, and explored sexually that way a little bit. But oh my gosh, she couldn't let her parents see how she was doing that, and so it had to be kept a secret. And so you learn to be deceptive, and you learn to then even lie as an early child when you're wanting to learn and begin to start to explore your sexuality. And so instead of really being able to be free to enjoy your sexuality, to enjoy your satisfaction and pleasure in life, you learn to cheat. And so maybe that's the case of some of you here in my audience. And but that wasn't me, and that I valued honesty and integrity far more than I valued cheating. And I suppose it's really because I was raised in a household where dishonesty and lack of integrity and just lies went around everywhere. And I got sick of it. So that by the time I got to be a teenager, I was so sick of the lies and so sick of the dishonesty that I saw take place in my own household and family growing up as a kid, that I just knew that I was going to live my life differently. And that meant that I was going to live my life as a really honest person of solid integrity. And so that, when it came to then having sexual issues with my wife, and no, I wasn't going to cheat on her, you know? And so it went on for 25 years of frustration and misery before I finally, the pain got to be a point where I finally said, I'm not willing to live like this and live with this displeasure. I want the pleasure and satisfaction, and I don't want the dissatisfaction and displeasure the rest of my life. And so I finally got to that place where it says, okay, it's got to stop. And so by saying that it's going to stop, then I had to do something about it. And what I did about it then is I created this process, and I talked about that on the last video, so I'm not going to go through all that with you here tonight. But it's really very similar to the transition I'm walking my way through now, you see, because the processes of transition are all the same. But in our society, we just aren't taught about this process of transition. And so I hope that by me sharing my journey and my struggles, my successes and my failures, and the transitions that I'm going through with you, then you can apply it to the things that are important in your life. And so if that needs to be a transition in a relationship, and for some of us, I've been through this myself, some of us that means a transition through divorce. Other of us that means a transition, which yes, of course, I went through a transition where my monogamous marriage of 25 years, I went through a 2-year transition, split after 27 years. Then that transition was we lived an open marriage, and we practiced non-monogamy then. And that was a transition. Now you say, well, but Mark, you got divorced, and so that wasn't a very successful transition, was it? Well, first of all, divorce is not failure. In our society, we are taught the wrong things. Like, yeah, we're some kind of a failure. I certainly felt that. Oh boy, did I felt that. And so subsequently, I really probably stayed married far too long, because I probably should have done something about getting a divorce long before, so that I could enjoy more satisfaction and pleasure in my life, instead of just thinking I've got to make this marriage work. And my wife would have gone on then to live a happier life overall, I believe. And because as it was, we got our divorce, and she was in a nursing home at that time, and 7 months later she died. She had gotten cancer after she told me that she was going to divorce me. And so, she didn't expect that to happen. She thought she would divorce me and go on to live a happy life, and she died. And I don't want that door and that window to close on your life. I want you to live a life that has satisfaction and pleasure in it. And sometimes you have to reach a point of pain in your life where the pain is enough that you say, I'm not willing to continue with this. And that's what's happened to me in the transition that I'm going through right now, where financially, the pain came to a point where I knew that I didn't want to live in the minimal financial stream of income that I have coming in the rest of my life. So I had to do something. And so that journey has been long, and you'll keep hearing more about that journey in the coming weeks. So tonight, though, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to switch my screen over, and I'm going to go to my notes, and so that I can just kind of stay on track here with you. And this is my weekly wrap up, and I review what went on last week with my transition, and I then tell you what I'm expecting to do this week, so that I'm being accountable to you. So I can't come and say, oh yes, I did great things this last week, look what I did, when that wasn't what I started out to actually accomplish that week. And so there's a big deal between accomplishing what you set out to accomplish and then having something else come along that you accomplish, but it's not even close to what you set out to accomplish. Because we all go through that as well. We can fake ourselves, And if we fake ourselves out thinking that, hey, we're really doing pretty good, but you see, we're not really moving the needle towards our true desire. We're just kind of having a good time without ever having the best time of our life. And that's the life that I'm creating for myself, is the best time of my life, not just every day living, going through the day, having a good time. And so here we are with a weekly wrap up and video report. And so to start out with, one of the things that I started to do this week is to keep my overriding desire, basically my next step, in front of me every single day. And so it's written down not only in this document that you're looking at now, but it's in another document that every single day is my daily game plan. And so my overriding desire right now is to create an online income of $5,000 per month. It is an ongoing online income. Now, the things that I'm working on, I know that once I go ahead and get to that $5,000 a month, it's not going to be long before I get to 10, and then it won't be long from there to go to $20,000 a month. And I've made a lot of money in the past, and so I know how these things work. That once you kind of get things figured out how to make it work for you, then it's not that hard to start to double your income very rapidly. But you've got to take and start somewhere. You can't start out. My goal right now, my goal for the end of the year, I'd like to be making $20,000 a month, and my long-term goals, I'd like to be making $1 million a month. And but so I can't start out with the goal of making $1 million a month. I just can't get there from here. And so where can I get to from here? I can get to making $5,000 a month from here. And then after I get there, then I go and I set that to doubling that to $10,000 a month. And I set to double that to $20,000 a month. And so that's where you got to start out. And so whatever you're trying to transition in your life, you got to find what is your overriding desire. And for me right now, it's about my income. Maybe for you, it is something about your health, because if your health is in the crapper, it doesn't matter how much money you make, and it doesn't matter, about your relationship if you don't have the health to enjoy your life. I see people out there in the non-monogamous community that they don't have the health to be able to enjoy an active sexual life with 2 or 3 women a day or a week or even a month. And so then maybe it's a good idea they work on their health. And for me, when I started working on my health years ago, it started with my weight, and that's a good place for most people to start. You may have other challenges and things you need to deal with. When I met Kat, it wasn't her weight. It was, some prescription meds that she was on. She was on for high cholesterol and depression and some other things. And these things kept her life limited. Instead of finding the solutions for those, then she just took these pills, and those pills weren't the solution at all. And so we got her working on her health, and now she doesn't take any prescription medications, and she's lost 25 pounds more than when I met her. She was looking great then. And so we are constantly working on our health. You go back and you look at some videos that I made a year ago, and you'll see that my face looks a lot heavier than it does right now. I'm a year older. I'm not supposed to be getting younger looking, and my face isn't supposed to be thinning down, but because I pay attention to my weight and my health, and I know my weight's not where I want it to be, so I just keep it inching along in the direction I want it to go. And so my overall desire, my overriding desire for me is $5,000 a month. 15 years ago, my overriding desire was to become non-monogamous. And so I spent 2 years working on that part of my life. And now I'm going to spend 2 years working on the financial part of my life. I spent the last 3 years working on a transition to go from living my life in Seattle, where I was tied down to a lot of stuff, where I just piled on stuff my whole life, to freeing myself of all that. So becoming a minimalist and just freeing myself of all of that stuff that weighed my life down. It took me 3 years to go through that transition. And so I completed that transition last year, took a bit of a break. And so now this year, then I'm working on this new transition. And that is my overriding desire to create an online income that's ongoing at $5,000 a month. Now, this week's goal for myself is going to be to learn a cutting edge product that I have, a software product called the Smart Video Revolution software. And I don't want to go into too much detail with you on this, but it's a cutting edge software. So for instance, let's say that I send you an email, and that email says it's got a little like Facebook click, and you click on Facebook, the little link, and you click on that, and what it does is then I have a video there that I created for you, and it goes out and it grabs your certain information from your Facebook page, and it puts it right in the video, like your picture, your photograph, so that I can be there, for instance, on one side of the video, I'm there, and the other side of the video, that you're there, and I'm looking at you because it's you're coming in from Facebook, and so it's amazing technology. And also this technology, one of the things I'm working on, and I'll be telling you more about, is doing some things on LinkedIn, and so that technology works in two different places. It works on LinkedIn and it works on Facebook. So that somebody that I am messaging with or connecting with on LinkedIn, then I can send them this video message that's very personalized, because it's going to go to their LinkedIn profile and pull in all the information I want from that LinkedIn profile and personalize it, put it in the video. So like their picture is there with me, and their name and information that I want popping up from time to time in the video, so that it's a very personalized process. But it's by video, and we're keeping social distancing alive. I'm not having to go there to be in this meeting, sitting there in the chair next to them. They can be sitting in the video all right with me, but it's a very personal experience. It's some amazing software. So it's called Smart Video Revolution software, and it's new. Software has been used for the last 3 years by big corporations like Domino's Pizza and General Motors, and big corporations in some of their sales and marketing campaigns, but it's never been before made available to small marketing agencies to be able to offer out to them their clients. And so for myself, I have a marketing agency called Digital Marketing Arsenal, and so I'll be offering it out to my clients, but then I'm going to learn to use it first for myself, because the things that I do for my clients is I find things that work really well for helping me to build my business, and then I go out there and I help my clients use that technology. It's cutting edge to help them to build their business. And to be honest with you, help them to increase their satisfaction and pleasure for doing business, and increase the satisfaction and pleasure that their customers have doing business with them. And so that's what I'm going to be working on this week, is to really focus on learning that software. Now, last week, my focus is on learning an email software, and that is going to be working in conjunction with my LinkedIn leads. And so the question is, was it a pass or a fail? Well, I have to tell you, it's a fail. It's a big fail. You see, it's a big fail because I took, and in my mind, I hadn't written out a clear plan like you see on this document now, and another document I have as well. And I hadn't really written out this clear plan because all this stuff was just in my head, in my mind. And so the software that I need to learn for doing the email, well, the first step is I've got to learn this video software before I can learn the email software, because they all work together, but they're different softwares made by different companies. And so I got to take things one step at a time. It's like I've taken too big of a bite last week. And although that I failed, I did accomplish a lot that I'm very excited about, and I'm going to tell you about that now. Because, see, it's like divorce. Is divorce a failure? No. When I got divorced, at that time, at that moment, it felt like a failure to me. But yet, it wasn't, because I had learned so much in that relationship that I had with my wife for 20, well, we were married by the time we got divorced. We were married for 34 years. And so there's so much I learned that in my relationships that I have today, and with Kat and Chris and my other partners. I mean, I was chatting with someone today that he's talking about that. Well, he's been divorced for 3 years, and he's got a neighbor that he's friends with benefits with, but they have fun, but she's not really his type. And and I have two very close long-term relationships, Kat and Chris, and I have two friends with benefits here in Ventura, and I've got multiple other people that are play partners. And gosh, talk about an abundant, wonderful life. But that's all because I went through that process of failure and going through that divorce with my wife, so that I could open the doors to the abundance that I have today. And so the failure that I had in my goal last week of not making it, well, it's opening up the doors of abundance for me, because, for instance, the accomplishments, some of them from last week, is that it says organization of files and Google tabs. You see, I have ADD, and it's not uncommon for me. In fact, it's more common than not that I would have more than 40 tabs open on my Chrome browser, and 40 to 60 to 70 tabs, which really messes up my computer. I have a laptop here that's got lots of resources. I bought it last year with all these extra resources because I knew I had this problem, and I just thought, well, I'll just buy the computer with more resources. But still, it messes me up. And then on top of all those Google tabs, I'll keep open as many as 20, 30 Word documents. So that's what I typically work with throughout the day, is Word documents. I have 20 or 30 of those open. And some of them have been saved, previously, and some of them were just, I'll open up a fresh document, won't save anything, but I'll just go ahead and start taking some notes. I'm doing something, I just go ahead and quickly jot these notes down in that document and leave it open. And then they stack up week after week, and the problem gets worse and worse. And finally, then my computer crashes. And I can't tell you how many times since I bought this new computer last year, just last summer, last August, and July, not August, but July. No, was it August? I don't remember. But July or August. But I can't tell you how many times this thing has crashed on me, where then I lose days of content and information and data that I created. And it's just because of bad, sloppy habits that I have. But those are bad, sloppy habits that I've created throughout my whole life. And to be honest with you, they're just not always that quick and easy to change. I've been struggling now for a year to change them. But you see, one of the things that I learned here recently this year is about my magnetic energy. And instead of struggling to change something, there's an easier way to go. And if you struggle to change things yourself and you want to know an easier way, then please get in touch with me. My email address, or my email is down there in the description, and get in touch with me, because I'd like to tell you about these processes that I got involved in earlier this year, or actually December of last year, that totally just change all that. It takes away all of that struggle and strife that I had. And so now I'm creating a way to organize my files and keep my Google tabs cleaned up on an as-I-go basis throughout my day. And so I don't have that problem anymore. And this is something I just solved then last week. And so to me, that's a big win. And so then the other thing that's the key for this is to create a habit for me to clean things up as I go throughout my day. Like right now, I've got 2 Google tabs, Chrome tabs open, and I'll be able to close those down right at the end of this video. I've got probably 4 Microsoft Word files, and those have all been saved previously, and they're saved in the cloud, and they automatically get updated anytime I change anything, and so that solves a problem there. And so, it's kind of like I'm learning to clean things up as I go throughout my day. And then another thing is staying on top of my issues on my email, because I get literally from anywhere from 200 to 1,000 emails a day, and just to stay on top of my email. But there again, I'm learning to break it down into small chunks, and then to find out what emails I can get rid of. I don't need to keep getting these emails always. And so I'm cleaning that up, and that was a big success from last week. Being able to start to stay on top of my email instead of having days and sometimes even 2 weeks go by where it's like the worse the stack of crap gets, the worse I just want to ignore it. The more I just want to ignore it. And you may have that experience yourself about some things. And so, it's kind of like I can't let that stack of crap get so high and so big that I just don't even want to look at it then. I've got to stay on top of the crap. And so I put some in place last week, put some processes in place. And I'll keep you up to breast and keep you up to date in the future, let you know how that's going. And then another thing is knowing when to put something on hold. You see, because I get this sense of urgency about everything I'm working on, everything I'm doing. And so subsequently, that's why I'd have 20 documents open at the same time, because I have this sense of urgency. I've got to be working on all of these instead of saying, okay, I'm going to put on 18 of these on hold, keep 2 of these open, and that way I can keep moving forward. Yeah, all these things. I'm just sharing with you the problems that I'm having, that I could go along, and if I didn't face my transition, didn't really try to be working on this transition that I'm having right now, I wouldn't have to face these things. And so many of us go through life where we really don't face things in our life. We just kind of bury our heads and move on. That's because we can live lives where we don't have to face things, but then you don't live life that is the life that you love the most. And for me, it's a life that means that I can be free financially and location independent, and I can have the income that I want and the income that I need to build and to do things. Well, people like say, Chris, my mentor, he last month, I think he said he made $650,000 last month. And, and he put a public video out about that. And he says, his car he drives is $3,500. And it's paid for. It's not a big expensive car or anything like that, but his mentors are billionaires, and he saw how the billionaires don't feel like they need to buy the fanciest cars, and Bill Gates drives a GMC Suburban, and people don't know that about him. They expect him to drive some, $80,000, $200,000 automobile or something, but he says, yeah, I went through that phase, but I don't need to. I just want to drive something that's going to be comfortable and safe. And that's why he drives a GMC Suburban. And so that's where my mentor, he drives a car that he bought for $3,500, or maybe it's worth $3,500. I don't know what he paid for it when he bought it, but he said it's worth $3,500. And he doesn't feel the need to go out and buy anything more. But you see, the fact that he made $650,000 last month, that means that he's got that much more money that he can then do that many more things with, and he treats his staff very well, and they work as a team. So when he does well, they do well. And that's the kind of environment that I'm creating as well. And so you knowing when to put things on hold was the point, but then we're going to go on from there to creating a system for staying focused and on my priorities, and that's part of the system that we're talking about here, and then I have other documents that we have a thing called lenses. It's part of this process. It's part of our coaching program and all now. And so our lenses is another way of keeping focused. And then I've got a file that's called my end of the day file, and that keeps me focused really well as well. And so there's a couple different tools that I have implemented myself, because it's out of my knowing that I need to have ways to be able to just keep myself on track. And these things really help. And if I wasn't going through this transition, then I really wouldn't be going through this growth and this process of getting my life together. And that's really what it is. It's getting my life together. Create a doable and workable day, and do not choke trying to eat the elephant by taking too big of a bite. That goes back to the goal last week, was learning, to get my LinkedIn email set up and going out on this new email software platform. And that was just way too big of a chunk to bite. And if you take off too big of a chunk, what happens? You choke. And so that's when, about halfway through the week, when I was choking, I stopped and I took a breath and I thought about, reassessed things. And that's when I said, okay, I've got to get a few more things organized. And that's like, starting to organize some of these things, these documents that I went through quickly just a moment ago. And doing some of these kinds of things that allow me to really be able to see, instead of keeping this stuff in my head and saying, oh yeah, well, here's the outcome that I want, but what do I got to do to get from there to there? And sometimes it's just too big of a step. I can't get there from here to there. I have to go from here to here, and then from here to here, and here to here. And so that's where I'm at now this week then, is learning this other software about this video process first. And so that way I'm moving towards where I want to go, but I'm not taking and choking on the chunk by taking too big of a bite. And so one of the big accomplishments last week is that I got, I think, over 150 messages sent to my connections on LinkedIn. And you see, and this is part of my creating my online income so one of the things that I'm doing is I've got this software, I've got two pieces of software. I paid monthly for both of them, and it's a couple $100 a month. And that allows me to search a very specific individual that I'm wanting to target and find them on LinkedIn. And so I go through, and my goal is every day to send out 100 find 100 people that meet my very specific criteria. These are people that are all over the United States that meet my very specific criteria, and then send 100 of them an invite to connect with me. So that's step one. Step two then is to send them what we call a bridge message, and that is just that where after they connect with me, they find that the average person then, if they send out 100 invites a day, they'll get 10 people a day that'll connect with them. And so by doing that 5 days a week, that's then 50 connections a week that they'll end up making. And it takes about 200 connections to finally then find the one person that we're looking for in order to then generate a sale from that. And so about 200 connections, that's a month worth of connections then. But you've got to develop the relationships then with them. You can't just go out there and connect and then that's it. And then start sending them pictures and things like this. This is human beings interacting with each other, professionals interacting with each other, not a bunch of people who are trying to sell each other. You can't operate that way. And so anyway, and so I go through and I find these people on LinkedIn, like here's a group of 1,000, a little over 1,000, and they're communication coaches. And out of that, then I got this special software, and it's right up here. It's probably done for the day right now, but this special software right here, and I tell it to visit these profiles just like this every day. I do this, and then it goes through those 1,000+ profiles, and it looks to find if they're meeting my criteria or not. And it just is all done on autopilot. And when someone does meet my criteria, then it'll go ahead and it'll send them a specially written invite that I wrote, and it'll send them an invite and asking them to join me or connect with me. And so the average person will get 10 connections a day from doing this, but I get an average of over 20 a day because I know how to use words and communicate in a way that people like connecting with me. And then after they connect with me, then we send them out this bridge message. And the bridge message, gives them a little bit of information about me and tells them what to be expecting from me. And it basically says, hey, I'm going to be sending you some information here in a couple more days that's going to help you to grow your business. And so that's then the next thing is then I want to send them an email on this software that I'm working with. And so there's about the processes there, these steps. It's about 7-8 steps. And those 7-8 steps, because you can see the software is just working automatically today right now. So the 7-8 steps, then that ends up taking me about an average of 3 to 4 hours a day. Now, once I get this cranked up, then we find that one person that becomes a client of mine. And once they become a client of mine, I turn them over to my associate, my team that I have working with me in Florida. And so that's what I'm doing. is working called Lincoln Lead, and so I'm working this program so that we land one client at a time. That client then starts to work with my team in Florida, and they get half the money that's paid. The client pays us $5,000 a month, and a lot of detail for that. But there's so many opportunities out there now, and I'm going to be talking to you more about different opportunities that, there's no reason for you to sit there with your head in the sand with this pandemic going on around us, and then you just kind of think, well, I'm going to guess I'm going to go back to working at the job. Yes, you probably need your job. I'm not going to tell you to walk away from your job, but turn your breakdowns into your breakthroughs. And this whole pandemic has brought a lot of people to a place of breakdown, and they just don't know where to go with it. And turn it into your breakthroughs. There's so many opportunities out there available right now to you. And so I'm taking advantage of these opportunities. Now, so that goes through my accomplishments. Now, what was my biggest breakthrough this week is, you see, my own energy. We talk about energy being our words and our thoughts and our feelings. And my own energy has been that I'm not a technical guy. I'm just not a techie. I'm more of a person that deals with other people, And so the biggest breakthrough I'm going through right now is I'm becoming a technical person. I'm becoming a techie. You see, and that's just taking things one step at a time. It's like, how does a doctor become a doctor? How does a lawyer become a lawyer? I talked about this in last week's video. How does a painter become a professional painter? They just take and they learn as they go, one step at a time. And so just like me now, I'm becoming a technical guy, and with technical skills, amazing technical skills. And that really, when I get in conversations with people and help people to understand things that I already know, they are just absolutely blown away and amazed. And that's why I get in these conversations with these business people and professionals on LinkedIn, and they're just blown away by what things that they don't understand the opportunities that we all have available to us today because of this internet. And so that brings me down. My last thing is, and that is focus for this coming week. My focus for this week then is to learn the Smart Video Revolution software. And so that's going to be my focus this week. There's a lot of training that goes into that, and then you just train, but then you do something. The thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to end up creating a video for my marketing agency that I can then send out to these people that I'm making connections with on LinkedIn. And so that's the focus that I have for this week. Don't know if I will. I'm not expecting to get the video sent out at all. So I've got to learn the email program before then. But I'm expecting to get the video created by going through all the training and going step by step and learning then how to create those things. And so that's my focus this week. I hope you'll sit down for a moment and take a look and think about what your focus is. And that way you can start to make steps moving forward in the transition of your life and the things that are important to you. And so we're going to go back here then. But I hope that this is helpful to you. And I hope that you're learning things from this, and it's not just a whole bunch of useless nonsense. Because I take my time here. I mean, to be honest with you, Kat's down in the bedroom waiting for me, and I'm holding her up, and so. But this is one of the things that was on my list that I had to get done for the day, and so I'm holding her up, and here I am, spending time with you. And so I hope that it was valuable for you, because I'm just sharing my journey week by week, because I want you to be successful in your transitions in your sex life, your transitions in your relationships, your transitions in your health, and your transitions in your wealth. And so I want you to be successful in your transitions, and by me being transparent and sharing my journey with you, I hope that you'll learn some things that are very useful and of value to you. So thank you very much. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and subscribe and like the video as well. You might share it if you want to share it with someone. And then you can also go ahead and get on our email list down there in the description. Take a look at some of the things that we have written in the description for you, but there's our email. You can subscribe to our email, And that way you can be a little more informed about non-monogamy, and you're living your life as an ethical and consensual non-monogamous person. So thanks a lot. Have a great week yourself.